A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to films I should have talked about years ago. For right now, I would very much like to talk specifically about a one-of-a-kind Robin Williams film. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually talked about anything with Robin Williams because wouldn't you know that not too long ago this year, his anniversary had taken place. The anniversary of the day of his death that happened 8 years ago. It's incredibly sad to know that he actually died quite that long ago, and so much more has happened. Of course, we've seen a lot of bigger things out there, many of which are much worse than just the death of a well-known actor, comedian, whatnot. But Robin Williams in general is just incredible to watch on screen in any day of the week. And so that's why I'm going to be talking about something that is considered lesser known than the likes of many films that he starred in, like Jumanji and Aladdin. Today, let's bring up RV. This is in fact a Columbia production, just like with the Stuart Little trilogy, the Ghostbusters films, and a good handful of other such well-known series that have come to be. But RV is deemed lesser known specifically because it's rated very low by critics. And it had itself a budget of $50 million along with the box office scoring of $87.5 million, thus making it a bit of an average take on a financial success. Average being $37.5 million was all the profit margin that they basically took in. But I'd say that's a lot of money to have. $37.5 million? I bet you could win any of those kinds of dollars at a casino at some point. Well, anyways, it's time to talk a bit about this exact film. It stars a guy named Bob Monroe, whom is in fact very dedicated to his work, and not so much with his family. He tends to be a bit distant from the rest of his family, including his own children. These two children have become a bit of a rebellion against him as well as his own wife. So the solution to this was to spend a bit of a vacation out in Hawaii. A time where they would actually get to spend some great time together and enjoy a lot of fun activities. However, there was a bit of a problem to that. They would all have to take a plane ride all the way over there, and it would take a while just to land down in Hawaii considering how far away they are. So what they end up doing instead, coupled with the fact that Monroe himself had a call from his job, his own boss tells him to come by to Colorado at some point. So he comes up with a brilliant idea to buy himself an RV. But not just any RV. This one, in fact, is one that can get bad gas mileage, and it has bad brakes, which can easily cause it to slide backwards. So he has to have himself some special shunts to hold the wheels in place and prevent the RV itself from slipping all around, rolling backwards or whatnot. Of course, this could be a problem, but there are lots of other problems that take place. He does in fact convince the family that it should be a time where they get to spend with each other on the road, in the same way that they would have normally done out in Hawaii, because a plane ride there would have meant some more distance spread from each other. And with that, the family seems a bit frustrated at first, but if there's anything that we learned from National Lampoon's Vacation, where, in fact, a road trip down to a well-known theme park would take a long while to do so rather than a plane ride, we happen to have ourselves a station wagon go into an RV, Chevy Chase go into Robin Williams, and a nice, easygoing family going into a rather rebellious family. So of course, the difference between both films is night and day, 23 years apart from each other. But of course with RV, it does not at all hold up quite as much. And a lot of people actually do feel like that this is probably one of the best Robin Williams films out there. I do feel like in this case, if it wasn't for Robin Williams himself, this probably would have not gotten as good attention as it does nowadays. It's one of the few movies from YouTube that you can watch for free. Now, that's really something. It really gives me a lot of creativity and a lot of stuff to work with. Well, anyways, back to the plot. They set off on their trip all the way down to Colorado, where they would supposedly have themselves a campground set up and lots of fun stuff that they could do out there in the great outdoors. Along the way, they do get in themselves in a bit of a few pickles every now and then, and Monroe himself still struggles to try and get his own job put together while still trying to spend some time with his own family. They stop out in the desert, an RV park, where they basically find themselves in a bit of a trouble trying to get the septic system to come together. They eventually find themselves a way to successfully drain all the sewage out of the RV with some help from a few locals out in the area. Locals that happen to have that hillbilly sort of feel to them. But let's not forget the real truth about this. Monroe has himself a work laptop, and this laptop supposedly is for work specifically. And he has a very hard time trying to connect out to a bandwidth, the internet, to be able to upload his own document to his boss, which he is supposed to do on the way there, nonetheless. I mean, working for a soda company apparently is a huge deal these days. But hey, we feel more than just contempt for them more than 15 years later. Well, anyways, a few failed attempts come by for him to try and get the document uploaded. And as such, he has to pretty much abort after some time. He does eventually get it uploaded properly, but not before crossing paths with some people that take place. They do in fact encounter a family known as the Gornickes, who basically have their own classic bus, their own personal home on wheels, where they themselves are incredibly strange people. But of course, it does not stop the Monroes from getting to know them well, make new friends, and understand each other very well as the road goes on. The many miles that they each travel together, as the Gornickes constantly get up to the Monroes, but for various reasons. In all seriousness though, one major part takes place. Apparently Monroe's laptop is taken from a restroom stall, and apparently the guy who is responsible for stealing the laptop ends up going onto the Gornickes' bus. And they both leave off together, trying to enjoy the best of their moments, when suddenly the laptop is discovered. One of the Gornickes themselves actually remembered seeing the laptop in Monroe's hands. So Bob Monroe's own laptop, along with the thief in question, are both kicked off, thus supposedly making it easier for the Monroes to get to the laptop easier. Bob himself struggles to try and get to it, and of course manages to reclaim it after some time. Lots of other things happen though. They try to have themselves a fun time out there in Colorado, and there are times where Monroe is called into the meeting itself, which is located pretty far away from the campground itself that they're situated in. But of course, you really got to respect this one part though, when he's on the way back to the campground, supposedly being late while the others are out hiking. He pretty much tells them that he's in a bit of trouble trying to get some stomach issues cleared up, but in reality he's actually leaving the RV with him. It's just so he can get to the meeting on time and other such stuff. But when he does come back, he's got to get up to the mountain as quickly as possible. Traffic is blocked, so he has to take an alternate route. And here comes the biggest highlight of the whole film itself. The RV tries to climb onto some rocks. One in particular, though, is perfectly angled in a way so that when the RV gets up halfway through, it basically leans up against it, teeter-tottering with every individual movement that Monroe makes. That is just amazing. I mean, a huge vehicle like that can teeter-totter on some rocks. When would they ever show you something like that on screen? The fact that it has really bad ratings and an average box office is one thing, but it's just another one of those cases where we have a movie, a much lesser known Robin Williams production, that is basically a legend nowadays. With all the people calling it some of the best material they've ever seen, the best Robin Williams movie, the best of probably a lot of things as well. This just goes to show RV had a lot more attention than it had ever received back then. More than 15 years later, I myself find a lot of things enjoyable about this. Even at the very end, where the RV itself ends up sinking into a lake, and after some time, they actually manage to fish it out. So of course, the very end of the movie, Monroe is treated well by his own employers. He's rewarded very well by given a huge position for the company. But he rejects everything and even quits his job for his family's sake. They got the RV out, it's completely covered in water, completely doused from the inside and out. And eventually, well, some of his other co-workers come up to him and offer him a job where he could actually do even better than his original one did. Another part for the soda company he works with. But unfortunately, the offer is shut down quickly because the RV once again rolls away from his grasp. So Monroe no longer has himself a good job, not even an opportunity down the line. So with that in mind, that wraps it up. RV is incredible. Quite a piece that you'd never imagine would actually take place. A Robin Williams film unlike what we've seen with as many on-screen appearances. Night at the Museum, Aladdin, World's Greatest Dad, or even the likes of Jumanji. And I do feel like that with other such films that he's been in as well. It goes to show he had such a huge career ahead of him. A lot of great times that followed. And all that got taken away when he went through severe depression and committed suicide. 8 years ago it's been. But we will never forget. One perfect person completely withered away from existence. All because of a very common problem that has been inhibiting us for decades. We had never faced anything this bad. And now is where we're going to be going through so much more than just depression. So, the score is 8.4 out of 10.1. Pretty generous if you ask me. But I feel that there should be a lot more than just the scoring that truly defines the film and the many outlooks people have towards it. So, in that sense, thanks once again for watching. And make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.